Hello and welcome to my review of the Panasonic LX3 versus the Canon S90. On the left we have the Panasonic LX3 and on the right we have the new Canon S90 released this month. I'm going to be focusing largely on the form factor and usability of the devices. Right out of the gate, probably the biggest difference is in size. The S90 is a much thinner device, able to fit inside a pants pocket, a jeans pocket. The LX3 has the chunkier lens on the front, which makes it a lot more difficult to fit in anything other than like a jacket pocket or a purse. On the left here, the Panasonic also comes with a neck strap as opposed to Canon's traditional wrist strap. The other piece is that the LX3 comes with a lens cap that's attached via this string here. I personally found that rather kind of annoying when it came to shooting, though some folks have been able to modify other lens caps to fit in case you would potentially lose it. Shooting with the LX3 is actually a lot of fun. You have an on-off switch on top, and you have a fantastic lens from Leica powering the actual shots themselves. Scene selector dial, aperture priority, shutter priority, as well as manual scene modes and autos. The shutter release is over here, typical kind of zoom forefinger right here. You have a up-down selector. You basically have an Amazon Kindle-like kind of way of modifying your exposure settings. So if you want to change your aperture, you up down on the joystick, and if you want to move over to exposure, you have to click left and then up down to change your exposure compensation. So that's probably my only knock about shooting with the LX3, is that the interface itself is not all that intuitive. You have a hot shoe up top. It supports auto exposure bracketing. On the left here, you have the pop-up flash. It shoots at 2.5 frames a second as well, which is a benefit for it over the Canon. Putting the lens cap back on, and then moving to the Canon. The Canon has your typical on-off switch up top, and that's kind of typical for all Canons. The one difference in terms of layouts that I'm used to is the Canon ring selector here for aperture and what mode you're shooting in is on the outside, and the shutter release is on the inside. So folks that are used to having a shutter release on the outside or closest to the edge might take a little bit of getting used to. The Canon supports a direct control ring right here. So right now I have this mapped to handle aperture priority, so I can go all the way down from an f2 to an f8 if I want on the front of the device. On the back of the device, Canon's typical kind of ring selector here that has an up, down, left, right type of motion to it, as well as a circular motion. What this allows is while you can use the direct control ring on the front for aperture, or map to whatever you want, ISO or things like that, on the back I have this mapped to, I have this thumb ring mapped to exposure compensation, so I get direct control over two of my major exposure variables. Also a shortcut button that I've mapped to handle white balance. The Canon does have the ability to support auto exposure bracketing. I've seen some confusion around that in some of the forums. It does support AEB. The thing that will be kind of a gotcha is that it only shoots 0.9 frames per second. That's with a Canon. So you're not really going to be doing HDR from this device in particular, but realistically, if you're going to be looking at things like HDR, you're going to be wanting to use an SLR on a tripod. So just be aware, 2.5 frames a second, 0.9 frames a second. I believe that's due to the internal memory on the Panasonic LX3, helps it buffer a little more, though I haven't confirmed that. Overall, I actually think I'm going to stay with the Canon S90. I find it much more of a joy to use, and I find it a lot easier to interact with, as well as fit in my pants pocket. Also, I don't need HD video out of my handheld. I hope this helps you make a good decision, and I hope you enjoy whichever one you go with. They're both great cameras.